Hey everybody, I wanted to do this quick video talking about the whole voting rights thing. We got the midterms coming up in like 2 weeks. So this conversation is very important. I had an entertainment news video that I was going to do today, but when all of this stuff broke out about the voting rights and all of that, I wanted to do this quick video and I got some things to say about it. But first, listen to this.
We're coming on the air because the Supreme Court has just released a major decision which could have a profound impact on the midterm elections. The justices issuing a ruling on a case out of Louisiana involving the Voting Rights Act, redistricting, and whether states must end any consideration of race when redrawing congressional maps. The decision potentially reducing the influence of minority voters and minority representation in Congress. Let's get right to our senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, who covers the Supreme Court for us. Devin.
Kira, this decision is 6-3, written by Justice Samuel Alito, and it's a significant decision and a setback for the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965, which was passed to guarantee equality in how we vote, and of course addressing the systemic and historic racial discrimination, especially across the South. This decision came in a case out of Louisiana involving a court-ordered drawing addition of a second majority black district in that state because of the size of the state's population. And the Supreme Court today, in this decision, said that the court violated the 14th Amendment by adding, the state rather, violated the 14th Amendment by adding that district. They used race impermissibly, consciously, to add a second district to aid those voters, and they said that is simply not allowed under our Constitution. Justice Samuel Alito didn't go as far as saying race can never be used in drawing these maps. That's something the court has affirmed before to comply with the Voting Rights Act, but he put a significant new limit on how courts can order states to draw their maps to be more equitable. He said that Section 2 imposes liability only when evidence supports a strong inference that the state intentionally drew its map to discriminate. So a setback for minority voters in Louisiana, and now, Kira, the impact of this decision is going to start to ripple across the country.
So to sum up what he just said, okay, I have some notes written down here that I woke up early this morning thinking about this and writing about it so I can come on here and do this quick video, right? To sum up what he just said, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was designed to stop racial discrimination in voting, right? So there's a Section 2 under the Voting Rights Act that lets people challenge unfair voting rules and districting maps, okay? Now, when the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in that Louisiana redistricting case, that pretty much weakened Section 2. And in turn, it weakened the minority voting power, okay? So, and it weakened it in like several different ways, but I have two right here that sticks out in my mind. This makes discrimination nearly impossible to prove in court. When they weaken Section 2, now we can't even fight discrimination in court because of this new redistricting thing that's going on. Okay. And number two, minorities won't be able to elect representatives who actually reflect our values and advocate for our communities. Okay. And that's major to us. We want people in there that we can elect who care about what's going on in our communities, who knows about what's going on in our communities, who's interested in making things better for people of color, minorities, or whatever, right? So that's two major things that will be affected by this redistricting thing. We won't be able to vote anybody in there that represent our core values and our interests, right? Because anyway, so, and just as the video says, the impact of this decision will start to ripple across the country, and it's already starting now. Just a day later, and look what's happening in Alabama with Governor Ivey. She made a post about it. And also in Tennessee, both set special sessions to go on next week to consider new congressional maps after the Supreme Court ruling that could affect this year's midterm elections, which is what, 2 weeks away? Listen to this.
Democrats and Republicans are both hoping to gain a partisan advantage with control of the House sitting on a knife's edge. Alabama is now one of the latest to jump into the redistricting race. State Governor Kay Ivey is calling for a special session next week to redraw the state's maps. The state is under a court order prohibiting the use of new congressional maps until after the 2030 census, but the state's attorney general has filed emergency motions with the Supreme Court to lift the injunctions. Tennessee could see changes too. President Trump says he's spoken to the state's Governor Bill Lee about new maps. Republicans are targeting the Memphis area, the one congressional seat in the state that's held by a Democrat. Meantime, Florida is debating a tentative congressional map that could give Republicans an extra 4 seats in the House. Governor Ron DeSantis says his proposal is long overdue.
We actually had a racial gerrymander that the Supreme Court just said is unconstitutional. I knew that was going to happen, so we called the special session back in January for April because we figured the decision would come out.
As for Democrats, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries tells Politico they're looking to respond in at least 4 states, New York, Illinois, Maryland, and Colorado, ahead of the 2028 election. Jeffries says he's been in contact with many of the state leaders in those places about their redistricting effort.
Okay, so Doug Jones, who's running for governor of Alabama, on this midterm election, he's on the ballot, which is going to be May 19th. So Doug Jones, he's running for Alabama governor. He posted this on his social media page. I saw it earlier this morning. And this is what it says. This special session is a blatant power grab by Republican. Let me start over. This special session is a blatant power grab by Republican leadership in Montgomery to eliminate seats held by Black Democrats. This attempt at voter suppression is an affront to all of those who have fought so hard for voting rights in America and for voting rights in Alabama and across America. Okay. The callous decision has emboldened those who are too afraid to compete for votes to gendermander their way into even greater power. We have to fight against those who are trying to effectively silence any voice that disagrees with them. And with the May 19th primary only weeks away, a vote is your voice. Okay? So that's what he posted on his Facebook page this morning. He is obviously a Democrat. So that's pretty much what's going on. They want to silence anyone who doesn't agree with them in the way that they're going about doing it, which it seems to me and a lot of other people is that they're eliminating the Black Democrats. So if you eliminate the Black Democrats, then you eliminate the Black voice. I don't know why people don't understand that. And as far as people online, this is another thing. There are so many people, I was reading the comments, so many people in the comments saying, well, y'all should be happy. This is what Dr. King wanted, equality. You should be happy that it won't be divided and all of that. For those people who are saying that y'all are misinterpreting the message, you got it partly right, but you misinterpreting the full picture of what he stood for. Okay, yes, he did want equality. Yes, you're right about that. But he also wanted for minorities to have a fair shot and a real voice. If you erase the shot and the voice, we don't have anybody that's representing us. He would not have liked that. Do y'all understand that? He would not have liked this. Okay? Doing this does not help minorities. It only helps Republicans. Why don't y'all understand that? This does not help minorities doing it this way. The way it is now, we can elect someone who represents our culture, our communities, our core values, the things that we need in our communities, the things that are important to us. Okay? We can put somebody in those seats to do some of the stuff that we need done in our communities. But without that, who's going to represent us? Who's going to make sure we're good? Do you really think Republicans care about what's going on in the hood, care about what's going on in our communities? Do you really think they care about that? No. My opinion is that no, they don't even visit the hood. They know nothing about, only thing they know is what they see on the news. Have you ever seen Republicans walking through the neighborhood of the hood and asking them what issues are over there and what problems can we fix? I've never heard of it. If you have, send me the video. I'll be glad to look at it. But it just doesn't happen. And I'm not bashing Republicans. I'm just saying we need a fair chance to get one of our people that represents us in one of those seats. Okay. So, basically what I was saying is that y'all are misinterpreting the message. Yes, he did want equality, but he also wanted for minorities to have a fair shot and a real voice. So no, he did not like this. He would be furious about this. But anyway, so at the end of the day, this is what we're trying to say. Representation matters, okay? Representation matters, and I know it won't matter to people who these changes won't affect. That's the whole issue. The people that's in the comments and saying this and saying that, it doesn't affect you and your family. So really, you don't even care as much as you seem. You don't really care. It's not going to affect you. But for minorities, this change is major for us. It will affect us. So don't go back and forth about minorities on the timeline when this issue has nothing to do with you, really. You're getting what you want. So anyway, like I was saying, at the end of the day, reputation matters. Minorities want leaders who represent and reflect, who understand and reflect our community's concerns and values. Do you really think white Republicans can stand up for us in a way to advocate for our communities as one of our chosen leaders would? I think the answer is no. If you think otherwise, put it in the comment section. Let's have a discussion. But I just don't see them standing up for us the way one of our chosen leaders would. A person who's probably lived in some of our communities, grew up and went to the same schools we went to. Somebody like that understands what we need and why we need it. If you've never lived our lives or walked in our shoes, you don't know what we need. And if you're not visiting the neighborhoods, walking down the street to see what the people in the areas need, then you're clueless. You don't know. So how do you want me to feel like, how do you want minorities to feel that we can trust your position representing us? It just doesn't, it just wouldn't, we can't, we need people in there to represent us that we put in those seats. Don't put somebody in the seat to do things for us when we know we're probably going to be at the bottom of their to-do list. I'm just saying, this is all my opinion. It could go totally differently, but this is all my opinion. But I think I speak for a lot of minorities when I say the things that I'm saying. But, so that's the deal. So now for anybody who is a minority, the only thing that you can do or we can do is just go out and vote. Voting changes things. Yes, your vote does count. Yes, voting does matter and it changes things. For y'all that don't think that your vote don't matter or it ain't gonna do nothing or you don't care, well, you need to start caring. You should have been caring a long time ago. You need to start caring. Because honestly, I didn't get into voting until I was like maybe 21. I think I was 22. And I started working with people who are professionals. And because it wasn't really, it was talked about at home, but not drilled and we weren't drilled on the importance of it. We were drilled on everything else, but not the importance of voting until I started working with a team of professionals. And it was like a bunch of us were like early 20s, like 20 years old, 21, 19. But the professionals that we worked with were adults. They were at the time probably 40. They used to drill in our heads every day about, not every day, but especially during the election period. When it was time to vote during the election cycles or whatever, they would drill, they would say, did you vote? They would talk to us about how to vote. Because sometimes people don't vote because they simply just don't know how to vote. They don't know the candidates. They don't know. They taught us how to research the candidates, choose the person. They didn't tell us who to vote for. They said choose the person which best fit your value, your core values, and the things you want to see happen in your community. So I started doing that. I would go in there and get a sample ballot. I would look who all's on there and start comparing and comparing the candidates, who's running against who, what is he offering, what is he offering, what do I like most, and I began to vote that way. So you don't want to go in there and vote and just be marking circles. No, you want to know what you're doing when you go in there to vote. Okay, don't just be marking stuff. You want to know who really has your best interests. That's who you vote for. Whether it could be a Republican, whoever you feel like is going to do the best job for you and your family, that's who you vote for. But you must cast your vote, not just for the presidential election, for all elections. All elections, you must show up at those. I do not miss election day. I do not. And the good thing about my job, they don't care if you're late on election day. Do whatever you have to do to vote is what we were told. If you have to leave early, if you have to come in late, take a longer lunch, whatever you have to do, if you're trying to cast your vote, go ahead and do it. So I'm thankful that I have a job like that, who cares about voting, who understands the importance of voting, and you won't get like scolded for being late or showing up, or none of that. It's whatever you have to do and go vote. So that's what I want to tell anybody who's not currently voting. Please go vote. Please go vote. Whoever you side with, go and vote. Go and vote. May 19th, if you're voting, if the election is in your area, town, city, or whatever, please go vote, because I would definitely be I am there 7 o'clock in the morning. As soon as the polls open, my car, I'm pulling up. My car, I'd be like one of the first 5 people to walk in the door. Like, I'm that serious. I'm that serious. I do not vote. See what I'm saying? So we'll stay tuned to this. We'll keep up to date. And as I get more updates, I may come on here and do another short video. But I just wanted to go on here to give just a short recap of what's going on, my opinion on everything. But that's all it is. This whole fight is about representation. We need people to represent us. By them making this change, we won't have anybody to represent us and our communities and our values. That's pretty much it. And that's very, very important. Okay. So, and that's one of the things that they fought for back in the days. The whole voting rights thing, this is what they fought for. So minorities can be able to vote and do it in a fair way and all of that. A legal way, a fair way, just all of that. So anyway, y'all have a good evening. If I find out some more stuff, I'll come on and do another video, okay? Until then, see y'all. Bye.